I'd like to call to order February 5th City Council meeting. Thank you all for coming. Okay. Could I get the Pledge of Allegiance from Mayor Pro Tem Kathy McCullough?
Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
City Attorney, do we have anything to report from closed session?
There was no reportable action taken.
No
Mayor,
reportable action. Okay. Okay. Presentations, items 3 through 5. May I have a motion to approve?
Second.
Okay. City Clerk? Madam?
Agenda Item 3, Commendation for Jerry Verplank as the 2012 Planning Commission Chairperson, submitted by City Clerk.
Well, we pride ourselves in Lake Forest with having people that want to roll up their sleeves and get involved. And this next person, Jerry Ferbank, in his service to the Planning Commission of 2012, has gone far above the no, this is Planning Commission. Planning Commission, back to Planning Commission, has done a great job in helping the city of Lake Forest come to where we are today. So it's with great thanks. I'd like to have Jerry. Could you come up, please? Jerry. On behalf of the City of Lake Forest, a grateful city, we want to thank you for your dedication and service to the city, and present this to you and allow you to come up and speak to us and speak to them what you feel Lake Forest has done for you and what you've done for Lake Forest. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of a grateful city, thank you.
Thank you.
Speak. You got a few more.
You want me to speak?
Yeah, say a few words.
Not really, but.
I can make this real short. Well, first of all, it is an honor to serve this city. It truly is. And, you know, it's been 8 years already. I can't believe how quickly the time has gone by. We did make some fine accomplishments. There's still work to do in this city, but because of who you all are, it makes what we do on the Planning Commission not just enjoyable, but overly pleasurable. So I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you.
Agenda Item Number 4, Report by Investment Oversight Reviewer, quarter ended December 31st, 2012, submitted by the Director of Finance, City Treasurer.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Kathy Lai, and I'm a partner with Macias, Genie, and O'Connell, and we're the accounting firm that's been engaged by the city to perform some investment oversight procedures for the quarter ended December 31st, 2012. So I've been asked by our Director of Finance here to just give a brief presentation with respect to the procedures that we've performed, particularly for our new council members. So without further ado, if you've got the report in front of you, basically the city has engaged us to review your investment policy for the city of Lake Forest and ensure that that policy is in compliance with the California Government Code, and then to review the investment portfolio for the quarter ended December 2012, and to ensure that that investment portfolio is in compliance not only with your policy but also the California Government Code. And from there, we do a selection of certain investments to review for a variety of things, but at the request of management specifically, to the extent that there were any investment purchases, the city's got a competitive bidding requirement as part of that policy, so we do review to ensure that the city was in compliance with that. For this particular quarter, there was in fact one investment purchase, and I'm pleased to report that there were no exceptions noted as a result of that procedure. Similarly, we review a sample of investments within the portfolio to look for any rating actions. Clearly, with the economy the way it is, that there could be in fact rating actions related to investments, and as a safeguard against certain measures for the city, we review to ensure that your investments do not suffer from some of those rating actions or downgrades. Again, pleased to report there were no rating actions of that sort for this quarter ended. And then last but not least, we do review the monthly treasurer's report that was, or the quarterly treasurer's report that was submitted in December. We review the difference between the book value of those investments and compare it to market value. Currently, your portfolio's market value is still higher than your book value by $2,800. And then we also review the U.S. Treasury's percentage rate of return for a 3-month bill and compare it to how your investment portfolio returns are doing. And I'm, again, pleased to report that the percentage return at December 31st, 2012 was 0.292%, which was higher than the U.S. Treasury's percentage rate of return of 0.05%. And so that concludes my procedure and my presentation for tonight, and I'd be happy to address any questions at this time.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Agenda item number 5, recognition of Juan Gonzalez, CIF State Cross Country Champion, submitted by City Clerk.
We in Lake Forest are so fortunate to have El Toro High within our city boundaries. We are so proud of what El Toro has produced academically and sports-wise. Our state co-champs actually the semifinalists for state champions CIF football was El Toro, and now Juan, in a photo finish and winning by 1/10 of a second, El Toro High School senior Juan Gonzalez captured the individual state title at the CIF State Cross Country Championship. From his accomplishments, he became the first El Toro runner to win the individual state title since 2004. The Division I state final is recognized as the state's biggest prize by his coaches and peers. Juan Gonzalez is acknowledged for his talent and being an integrated part of the remarkable season. And so it's with great pleasure that I, as Mayor of the City of Lake Forest, get to present you, Juan. I think that your dedication and commitment to the sports of running, cross-country, and for those of us that are involved in sports, to be a cross-country runner, it takes a commitment because you're running much of the time by yourself. And so your dedication to get out there and run that extra mile and then never give up, we honor you. So on behalf of that, I'm coming up forward, and I got a stack of stuff for you. Congratulations on your state championship. Thank you so much. We've heard nothing but good things about you. You make us proud to be Lake Forest because El Toro Chargers is an intricate part of what we are as Lake Forest. And so thank you so much for being here tonight. And on behalf of the City of Lake Forest, I'd like to present this to you. A certificate of recognition from the Lake Forest City Council, hereby recognizing Juan Gonzalez, member of the El Toro High School Cross Country 2013 Cross Country Team, CIF State Cross Country Champion. So on behalf of the City of Lake Forest, congratulations. Thank you. Okay, hold that. Now, on behalf of my boss, Assemblyman Don Wagner, I brought this from the California State Assembly from from Sacramento. This is a certificate of recognition presented to Wanda in honor of 20,000 CIF Boys Cross Country Championship Individual State Champion. So congratulations. On behalf of Assemblyman Don Wagner, congratulations you. This represents the state of California, the State Assembly. So congratulations. Okay. Now, on behalf of the State Senate, this is from State Senator Mimi Walters and the nearly 1 million constituents she has in the 37th State Senate District. And on behalf of State Senator Mimi Walters, congratulations. Now, on behalf of the Congress of the United States and Congressman John Campbell, which sends his regards and congratulations, on behalf of John Campbell, I'm presenting you this with this Congressional Certificate of Honor. Here you go. Thank you. We are so proud. Congratulations, and may this what you've learned be persistent and dedication. May it take you through your whole life, and may you be a very successful person. And so God bless you, and thank you so much for representing El Toro so honorably. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
While the mayor is making it back up here, I just have one thing to say. Go Chargers!
Madam Clerk. Thank you.
The next item is report from Student Liaison, report from Jens Bersonius.
Yeah, let's see how the Chargers are doing. Go Chargers!
They're doing good.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. With the regular winter sports season wrapping up, it's safe to say that it's been a very successful season for nearly all El Toro sports. Boys soccer is ranked second in the county and second in CIF Division I. As of now, girls water polo is ranked second in their division and will continue to excel in their tournament in their game against Foothill tonight. Boys basketball is currently ranked third in the county and first in their CIF division. Boys basketball also recently broke the El Toro three-point record in one game with 20 three-pointers. This Wednesday, we are having a special day for graduating El Toro athletes. About 20 athletes are signing to their colleges on this special day. These seniors have been granted sports scholarships and will be honored at SNAC while committing to their future schools. Back in January, El Toro Drama Department held tryouts and cast over 50 students, including myself, for the highly anticipated all-school musical Superman. Mr. Blackley, an avid Superman fan and El Toro's drama director, has been waiting to put on the show for almost 18 years and has put together one of the most action-packed and technologically exciting productions he has ever made. The play is set for March 20th through the 23rd. We highly encourage you do not miss out. Finally, El Toro ASB made a special order a few months back, and we will be receiving our brand new electronic marquee later this month, all ready to display awesome high-definition images of upcoming events going on at El Toro. That's all for tonight, and as always, go Chargers.
Now, at this time, we come to public comments, and if you'd like to bring forth something that's not on the agenda, at this time, members of the public may address the City Council regarding any item within the subject matter of the City Council. And no action may be taken on items not listed on the agenda unless authorized by law. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person, and the overtime limit of 30 minutes for public comments portion of the agenda. Any person wishing to address the City Council on any matter, whether or not it appears on the agenda, is requested to complete a request to speak form available by the door over at the left here. To the City Clerk over here, Deborah Rose. Deborah? To be heard by the City Council. Whenever possible, lengthy testimony should be presented to the City Council in writing, 8 copies, with only permanent points orally. Additionally, a request to register written comments form is available at the agenda public review counter. Madam Clerk, is there any request to speak?
Our first speaker is Marcia Rudolph, followed by Robert McHale.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm here tonight at this time to speak to the issue of vector control. I wanted from day one of the city, and I was on that council, to be the representative of vector control. I was politically kept from doing that for 18 of the 19 years I was on the council. But you got me. What I have is just a quick report. We get volumes of material, but the first one is an activity report of West Nile virus activity, Orange County, December 28, 2012. And I'll give this to the city clerk, and if you're interested, she can make a copy of this for you. The other issue that I think is of note is over the past year we had 32 typhus infestations. We had 48 West Nile, and we had 1 West Nile death. That's in the county of Orange. For those of you who may not be up to speed, vector control is a line item on your property tax bill. It is just over $5. And what we get for that $5 is amazing, particularly as you see what is happening in other areas. We had a report of the vector issues in Texas from the Texas Vector Control Agency. Get down on your knees and thank the Lord that you live in Orange County. It's pathetic almost. And, Texas is supposed to be so wonderful. But at any rate, I will continue on a monthly basis to be giving these reports to you, and every month they put out this item, and I will give it to the city clerk, and those of you who want to have it reproduced, you can. Vector Control Board is very active, very involved, and it's a lot of fun to do it. Not as much fun as City Council, but almost. Thank you very much, and if you have any questions, you know where to find me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Robert McHale, followed by Bob Holtzclaw.
I was really irritated by an event. I'm going to really try hard not to irritate you by the same event, but I wanted to iterate through some of the things that had happened locally on an event and just ask you to double-check some facts and maybe help prevent that kind of an event from happening again. My grandfather was LAPD 25 years, and he served during the Watts riots, and I saved his holster just as a neat memory that he did a lot of good things, and unfortunately he passed away 1 year after he retired just from health issues. But I have a great deal of respect for law enforcement, super respectful, and I know from secondhand stories how difficult that it is. But I feel super irritated by an event that happened with law enforcement here in Lake Forest, and I just want to iterate through just 5 questions that were asked and just ask you to think about those questions and maybe change them in the future. But this is what happened. Apparently someone made a call. It was on January 13th. It was 11:30 a.m. A friend and I were going to go hiking. We're going to go hiking at Whiting Ranch, and I moved to Foothill Ranch in 1991. I was at the opening ceremony for the Whiting Ranch statue, and Rock and Road Cycler was there. My dad was there. And I've been around the area for a long time. I lived 4 years at 27 Bonita Vista, and it's not like I've never been to Lake Forest before. I've been here for a long time. But someone made a call and said, hey, there's a guy jaywalking with a pocket knife. Can you go check this out? And it was a friend and I at the donut shop going to have a coffee and donut and hike at the Whiting Ranch. Now, I know it's a big misunderstanding, but it was really irritating and kind of scary. 3 patrol cars showed up, and 6 officers approached my friend and I. And we had done nothing illegal, nothing wrong. But I want to iterate the questions that they asked us, and I just want you to think about whether they're good or bad. And might have to come back next month. But here's the first question. Are you from around here? Have you ever been arrested? Are you on probation? Do you mind if I search you? Are you Jewish? They looked at a bumper sticker on my car and asked me if I'm Jewish. One of the officers took my wallet and went through all my credit cards, and I have my mother's Costco card in my wallet. She passed away last year, and I just hold on to that as a memento. And the officer said, "Is your mother Asian?" And I think, what does that matter? It just seems really like it was a great misunderstanding, but I really feel like there were some technical issues that were probably illegal. I don't know if you can ask somebody if they're Jewish. I don't know if you can ask somebody if their mother's Asian. Does that mean I'll get different treatment? Anyway, I'll come back some other time. I'll write a letter and I'll just put everything in writing just so you guys can look at it. But I'd really like you to double check the facts. It was super embarrassing. It was over here at the donut shop, Michael's Donuts at the El Toro and Pochola right by LA Fitness. But anyway, I'll type up a letter and just let you guys take a look at it. But thanks.
Thank you.
We've had no further requests. Oh, I beg your pardon. Bob Holtzclaw.
Good evening, Bob.
Hi, how you doing? I had sent out a little feeler with my emails, and some people were talking about in the neighborhood about a dog park, and I thought, well, I'll email a whole bunch of people out and see what kind of response I got. I was really shocked about how many people are in favor of a dog park in Lake Forest. And I think mostly, I got 4 here is probably the most popular. And it's a dog park that would be separated with fenced in all around, with part for large dogs to run and also a fenced in small dog area, a grass area, a spot where they can put for doggy waste bags and things like that, and also for water, a fountain for the dogs can have water while they're running in the park. Most of them are kind of the feel I got was something like Laguna Beach, but smaller. We don't need, I don't think, as big as the Laguna Canyon Road run over there. But, that's pretty large. That's where I bring my daughter's dog all the time, and they have a lot of fun down there, and they run all through that area. But it is rather large. But I think the city does need a dog park, and something for, everybody to enjoy, not only just the dogs, but the people that come out there. I've been out there quite a few times at Laguna Beach, and, you talk with people and everything else, and I start counting how many people on my street right around there that have dogs. It's quite a few. And just to bring a place to come out. Some of the things right here were benches, for you can sit down. I'd be glad to donate a bench if that would help. As far as the recreational deal, some say, how about a shade tree or something like this? That's a little bit of the added on. But I think it'd be a great idea. And Councilman Robinson emailed me back on it, and I should bring it to the Park and Recreation Committee. And I also got something from Councilman Nick about it. And so I will take your advice, and we will bring it forth to them too. But I just wanted to let you people know, because I guess you're the last stamp on anything that happens in the city. So we will bring it there too, and exactly what all these emails are. I didn't bring a whole bunch of them with me because I thought, it's almost the same thing, repetitious. But I think it'd be a great deal, and I hope I have all your support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now there are no further requests.
Okay.
Excuse me,
Thank
Mayor.
you.
Madam Clerk, my light is going crazy over here. It's not working. It comes on the red and not on the yellow. Okay. Tweak
Okay.
it. Thank you.
At this time, item number 6, consent calendar, warrant registry. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered routine and are enacted by one vote. There will be no separation discussion on these items unless a member of the City Council, public, or staff requests specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak on these items?
We've received no requests.
Warrant Registry, colleagues, are there any requests?
19. I'd like to pull 19.
Number 19. The
Yeah.
Warrant Registry,
I want to pull, on
Page
page
19.
19, I have something I need to speak, to address to staff.
Number 9, page 19.
Page 19,
And which item?
U.S. Bank.
Okay, and Madam Clerk,
I'll move that.
I'd like to pull on page 32, Emmanuel Jones and Associates. Council members, any? No further. Can I get a motion?
Removing the remainder.
Okay. All. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Madam Clerk.
The warrant register, Mayor Pro Tem McCullough, you pulled U.S. Bank?
Yes, page 19, U.S. Bank. I'd like to ask the staff, which this comes under Keith, when you put the listing down here, on many of them throughout, you put like kind all under the same listing. Is it possible that you put a line under it? Because it makes it look here on page 19, my item is at the very beginning, but there's no line or definition there, and then at the end, it looks like the total amount belonged to me, and I'd like a line there. Move the item.
All in favor?
Aye. You see what I'm saying?
And the second warrant that was pulled was the Emmanuel Jones warrant?
Yes, and I pulled that, and City Manager, I pulled that because Emmanuel Jones is a contract lobbying. We're involved with ACCOC, California League of Cities, and all of us as sort of lobbyists in our own rights. And what I was wondering is, with the upcoming sports park and the Civic Center and the Rec Center, I kind of would like to see if we could include grant writing, and maybe instead of if they're not able to do that, maybe go outside and put out and seek someone that could maybe bring forth some money in writing grants for the community service of sports park and rec center and civic center, and obviously Mrs. Mayor Pro Tem's senior center. So I would love to maybe include that in your guys' request to them and see what we get back on that, and then maybe we'll take it from there. And you can get back to us, please.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we certainly could ask Emmanuels and Jones of their background as it relates to helping the city obtain grants, and then report that back to the council, and you can evaluate from that point forward whether or not you feel they could do that or you want to take some other action. So we'd be glad to ask them on your behalf.
All right. I'd like to move the item. All in favor?
No. I need to ask something.
All right.
You didn't look over here. Do we already have a grant writer? Or someone that writes grants?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the grant writing is done individually by each department that is seeking the grant. So there's no one individual who writes grants. If it is related to the Orange County Transportation Authority for some sort of transportation traffic-related grant, then the staff has that assigned out by Mr. Wheeler. So we don't have a centralized writer of grants.
So the request is for identified person that would be writing.
I think the request by the mayor is for a firm who could help the city obtain a grant, maybe help us write it, but not take the sole responsibility. The cost might be a bit prohibitive, but to help us actually get the money, which I think is really what we're probably interested in.
Yes.
Is that all in favor?
They all said yes.
Yeah, okay.
To approve the warrant list.
Okay. Moving on. Consent calendar. Items number 7 through 22. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered routine and can be acted by one vote. There will be no separation discussion of these items unless member of council, the public, or staff requests the specific items be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. Madam Clerk, are there any items on the consent calendar asked to be pulled?
We've had no requests.
Okay. Colleagues,
Item 16.
anybody else?
Move the ballot. Move the
Second.
ballot.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Agenda item 16, construction contract award for the Rimgate Park and Tamarisk Park Improvement Project, Public Works 2009.14, submitted by the Director of Public Works, City Engineer, and removed from the consent calendar by Councilmember Herzog.
Thank you very much. In light of the various things set forth in our packet and the history on this item, I would make a motion that we reject all bids and direct staff to rebid the project.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that brings us to discussion action items. Following matters for the City Council considered discussion action items. Members of the public may have the opportunity to address these items if they wish to do so. Please complete the request to speak form and give it to the City Clerk, Deborah Rose, over at the side. Thank you. Madam Clerk? And I'd like to apologize to all you. I've got a double vision in my lower eye, and so you see me close my one eye or looking at downward. My peripheral vision on my lower part of my eye is been bothering me, so it's hard for me to read some of my smaller writing up here. So I got to apologize to all you. So apologize, and I hope that it gets better soon. Madam Clerk?
Excuse me. Agenda item 23, selection of Park and Recreation Commissioners for the 4-year term, January 2013 through December 2006, submitted by the City Clerk.
At this time, I'd like to ask all applicants for Park and Recreation Commission to leave the chamber and wait for the activities room until your name is called. After applicants have left, members of council decide on questions have asked for the applicant at this time. Thank you.
I'll do question 4.
Yeah, let's pass these out. Take question 1.
Which one you going to
I
take?
want to ask questions.
Peter, you're taking 4.
Correct.
Dwight?
5.
5. Scott?
I'm taking 1.
1. What's left?
I want to ask questions. I've seen the applications.
Okay. Madam Clerk?
I think I'm going to take 2.
We'll take 2.
The first applicant is Mary Axelrod.
Hi, Council. Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Mary Axelrod. I've been a resident of Lake Forest for about 8 years now. I've been a nurse in California for over 30 years. I'm on the HOA board, neighborhood watch leader, and I'm a freelance writer as well. I'm personally into a healthy lifestyle, eating right, exercise daily. I like to research, implement, and teach new holistic alternatives because I don't always like to take medication. I know it's, as a nurse, I know that sometimes that's the only thing that'll help, but there's other things too. My interest in an appointment to this board of Parks and Recs is because I see a need to actively bring interest and excitement and encourage participation in activities regardless of age or functional limitations. I've learned it's necessary to be active regardless. It's not about how many push-ups you can do. Do your best and forget the rest. And I know you have my application, so I'll just wait for your questions.
I'm going to ask the same question of all. So my question for you is, the city recently completed $8 million in park improvements under its 5-year strategic plan. In the next 5 years, and not including the new Lake Forest Sports Park, what park improvements would you like to see constructed and why?
I'd like to see, one of my things is I like the hydroponic vertical gardens that I've been researching myself personally, and it doesn't take a lot of space, so I'd like to see that implemented in a dedicated space in one of the parks, because I think it's a good self-sustaining thing. It would encourage others to have a garden in their yard as well. It doesn't take up a lot of space. Hydroponic just means, in a word, soilless. So it's water-based. It's a nutrient solution that they use. And it takes up about 90% water, less water, and 70% less land. So it's good for small spaces. And I was thinking back as a child, and I like that hopscotch and the tetherball. So I think that would be kind of fun to implement that.
Great, thank you.
Good evening, and thank you for applying.
Hi.
What is the best way to determine the design elements and amenities in park projects?
I think a lot research and awareness.
Anything else?
Well, of course, you need the proper approval, but I think researching matters. Whatever comes out is good.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Marion. First, I'd like to thank you for being involved with our Neighborhood Watch program and being the eyes and ears out there. Thank you so much for that. My question is, how does your personal and professional background qualify you to serve on the Park and Rec Commission?
Well, as I say, I like the healthy lifestyle, and I like to be active, and I think that I can bring forth an encouragement and excitement to that area because I am kind of experienced in that area as I do it daily, and I've done it for quite a few years now.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Hello.
What do you think the role of responsible and the responsibilities of a Parks and Rec commissioners are? Hold on. I'm going to smash these two together, if it's okay, Mayor. I don't want to see this go to waste. And what do you see as the greatest need in recreations for the city?
Well, I think that Parks and Recs people need to come together and make sure things are implemented. And there's a lot of, I had the pleasure of looking at some of the 28 parks that are in Lake Forest, and a lot of them are underutilized. So I think the greatest issue would be to utilize them in a way, getting people excited, getting people active and aware of of the activities. I mean, you have a lot of great activities going on, but you can't do them if people aren't aware of them. So I think awareness is a big issue, and I think that actually going to these places, going to the parks and checking them out and seeing what is needed, because the El Toro Park and the Heroes Park, to me, needed a facelift. They're very well kept, but they need facelifts. And I didn't even know there was a golf course until I saw the one near the Heroes Park when I went in there and I saw it. And I think a lot of Lake Forest residents don't know that there is a golf course, because that was underutilized too. There wasn't a lot of people there, and it was a weekend.
Thank you.
Hello, and thank you for being here. I have reviewed your application. I don't have any questions, and I thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
The next applicant is Gracie Duran.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Gracie Duran, and I live here in the city of Lake Forest. I started actually my career in Parks and Recreation. I started in Ferbank, which is a full-service city with many employees in their Park and Recreation department, and had the opportunity to present to that board and the City Council at that time. From Ferbank, I actually joined the Marine Corps and went into the service for 4 years, came out and actually have my degree in my bachelor's in science in leisure studies and recreation. Went back to Ferbank and continued my work there, and I also worked for the city of Oceanside for some time. Currently, I work for Contract City, one of our neighboring cities, very close by, and enjoy doing that. So I do have the experience of working with a full-service city and also a contract city, which is a great medium of Lake Forest, because here in Lake Forest we have contracts, and we also have staff as well, which is wonderful. I've applied for this position because I enjoy being involved in my community. I am a newer resident of 4 years, but I am a neighborhood watch program captain right now, and I participate in Relay for Life, and I also participated in the Leadership Academy in the fall of 2010. I've worked in a variety of different services. I've worked in art centers, skate parks, so I'm familiar with skate parks, working at the sports office, running centers, overseeing youth activities, overseeing senior activities, and I am very passionate about art and dog parks as well. So that's me in a nutshell.
Great, thank you. We're each going to have a question for you. Bear with me, mine's a little long, but I'm asking the same question of everyone. So, the city recently completed $8 million in park improvements under its 5-year strategic plan. In the next 5 years, and not including the new Lake Forest Sports Park, what park improvements would you like to see constructed and why?
I would like to see a dog park constructed in addition to the sports park. But the sports park is obviously going to be our big gem, and that's going to be really exciting, and that's one of the reasons I applied to oversee that and see it to come to fruition. But I think a dog park is definitely something that the community would enhance and utilize quite a bit. Good evening.
Good evening. What is the best way to determine the design elements and amenities for park projects?
Well, community feedback is very important. Taking a look at square footage, easy access, safety. There's quite a few elements that really need to be taken to be addressed for park elements.
Okay, thank you.
I first want to thank you for being involved with our Neighborhood Watch program, being the eyes and ears out there and helping our city become such a safe city. So thank you so much for being involved with that, first of all. How does your personal, professional background qualify you to serve on the Park and Rec Commission?
I've been in the Park and Recreation and Community Services field for over 25 years. I have my bachelor's in leisure studies and recreation, and I also believe in being active and participating. And I take classes in here at our local HOA and participate as well.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
What do you think the role and the responsibility of Parks and Recreation Commissioners are, number one? And in addition, what do you think are the greatest recreational needs in this city?
That's a loaded question. Some of the needs that, and I wouldn't say it's needs, I would say to enhance the programs. I believe more art programs would enhance the programs that we currently have. So I think that would be very valuable. I'm sorry, can you repeat the beginning of your question?
Yes. What do you think the role and responsibilities of a park and recreation commissioners are? What do you feel those roles are?
So the role of the Park and Recreation Commissioners would be a I want to say a buffer, but that's not the word that I'm looking for. It's a board to oversee what's presented before from staff, and having been staff, I have that knowledge. And you oversee and you take a look at the entire project before the City Council. So the board's purpose is to do the preliminary investigation to make sure it's an appropriate project for the City Council to approve.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, and thank you for being here. I have reviewed your application. I don't have any questions, but I do thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The next applicant is Bernard Esposito.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council.
Good evening.
My name is Bernie Esposito. I've been a resident of Lake Forest for the last 11 years and been involved in youth sports probably all my adult life. And I was born and raised in the city of Chicago, which has a very, very strong parks league for both youth sports and youth activities. And I'm 73 years old, and I still look back to those days that I spent in the Chicago Park League with a great deal of fondness as to what that city and that park recreation system provided for me and for all of my friends. I went into the military, and upon being discharged from the military, I went to work for the Sheriff's Department. And while I was working for the Sheriff's Department, I became an unpaid coach for the St. Cecilia's football team, and that was my first experience in coaching. I've got children. I've coached and managed in Mission Viejo Little League. My daughter was a member of Mission Viejo Bobby Sox, and I was a coach for her and coach for the All-Star team there. And then as my children grew up, they became coaches. My son is now a coach for Lake Forest Little League, also in Pop Warner football. My grandchildren have enjoyed football and baseball in this community, and my most recent experience, of course, has been with Saddleback Lake Forest Little League, where I was the safety officer and then ultimately the vice president of the league. So I'm very, very interested in youth sports and providing a strong park system and recreational system for our kids, because I'm a very staunch believer that by doing that, we as a community can avoid a lot of our kids falling into the traps of being recruited into gangs and juvenile crime. So if given the opportunity, I would certainly appreciate the opportunity to serve the city.
Thank you for applying. Have a question for you.
Sure.
The city recently completed $8 million in park improvements under its 5-year strategic plan. In the next 5 years, and not including the new Lake Forest Sports Park, what park improvements would you like to see constructed and why?
Well, I really don't have any agenda, and I don't have any preconceived ideas as to what I would like to see. I'm just one person, and the thrust of my interest naturally is for the city to be able to develop all sorts of recreational activities, whether they be after-school activities, weekend activities, and sports opportunities for the kids. So I don't really have any preconceived ideas. I didn't study this thing into such a degree that I could come before you and start giving you a lot of what my ideas are. I'm kind of a very flexible type person, and I'm open to whatever I can do to help the city.
Okay, well, thanks a lot.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. How are you?
Great. How are you, sir?
Good. What is the best way to determine the design elements and amenities for park projects?
Well, I participated in the citizen input of our new sports park. While that process was going on, I took the tour when it was offered of the property and walked the property. And I think that that was just a great exercise as far as I'm concerned. I thought that it gave the opportunity to anybody within the city who had an interest in parks and sports activities and things of that nature to provide some input, which the council and the planning commission and everybody took an interest in whatever was being offered by the citizens. And I think that citizen input is probably one of the best things that can happen as far as any city is concerned.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
No.
Are we going to finish up here?
Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off there, Mayor.
How does your personal professional background qualify you to serve on the Park and Rec Commission?
Well, my professional background is law enforcement, and I don't believe that really qualifies me as any sports authority in parks and recreations. My own experience is just being a father, a coach, a manager of baseball teams, participating in league activities, participating as a league officer, and trying to further sports activities within the city of Lake Forest. So my law enforcement experience, I don't believe, really gives me any unique qualifications at all. It's just my experience as a dad, as a coach, as a participant in a lot of youth sports activities, and of course my interest in youth in general, and trying to do whatever we can as a community to keep our kids safe and involved in productive activities that are going to make them productive citizens in the future.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
And I have something to ask you also.
All right.
Okay. What do you think the role and the responsibility of a Parks and Rec Commissioner are, and what do you think are the greatest recreational needs in this city?
Well, I think the greatest needs in this city is to provide as many youth activities, whether they be sports or whether they be any type of recreational activities, for the kids in this community. We've got, I know, a lot of kids that go home to empty houses after school. They don't have any parental supervision there. And these kids are especially vulnerable to a lot of different things that are going on in the streets. And if we can provide those kids with another avenue other than hanging around, the local corner or wherever they're going to be hanging around and congregating with nothing productive to do, I think that that's something that this city really should do and does do, and we need to just do whatever we can to improve on that.
In the first part, what do you think the role and responsibilities of a Parks and Rec Commissioner are?
Well, I don't really, have any definite ideas as to what a commissioner should do. I think, in my opinion, never having served on a commission of this nature before, I would just offer my services in whatever capacity I can best be used.
Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you, sir?
Good.
I thank you for being here. I have reviewed your application thoroughly. I have no questions. I thank you for being here.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Council.
The next applicant is John Irish.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm John Irish, first term Parks and Recreation Commissioner. But my wife and I have lived in Lake Forest for 36 years, and at the end of 1991, I joined the Cities Incorporation Committee and was assigned as the chair of the Time Capsule Project. And after the formal incorporation in December of 1991, a few of us got together and decided what we wanted to do for for future events for the city. We agreed right away that an annual 4th of July parade would be a good option. So at that point, I became one of the founding members of the 4th of July Parade Committee, to which I serve on this day. And I'm very passionate about working here in Lake Forest. I love the city, and I want to continue on. During the 4 years that I've been on the commission, we've, of course, come up with the sports park, and we've also developed or created a senior advisory board. We picked that last fall from about 12 highly qualified candidates. We picked 5 of those people to lead that board. That board will report to the commission on a quarterly basis, and then we on the commission will make sure, we'll take great pains to make sure that their needs are put into the design of the new senior center building as part of the Civic Center complex. We also welcome this study that was recently published, not only for its high marks for special events and senior programs, but also for the improvement opportunities listed, such as the recreation programs for special needs students. And also, we welcome the recent request by staff, by the council here, to investigate dog parks. I'm sure that the council will do due diligence, in coming up with feasible options. I personally have always been in favor of dog parks, and I look forward to the challenge. So in closing, I ask you to appoint me to a second term on the commission so that I can see our sports park through to fruition, providing feasible options for the dogs, and, as always, continuous improvement of parks and recreation programs. Thank you.
Well, thank you for applying again and for your service thus far. We're each going to have a question for you, and my first question here is, the city recently, as you know, completed $8 million in park improvements under its 5-year strategic plan. In the next 5 years, and not including the new Lake Forest Sports Park, what park improvements would you like to see constructed and why?
Well, one of the obvious ones is what we just talked about, some kind of a dog park. We'll try, the commission, Parks Commission, will try to come up with cost-effective solutions and also make sure that we aren't getting into any liability indemnification problems. But that's one of the things. We don't have any aquatics facility. I don't know if something like that would even be feasible, but I remember when we completed the sports park design, and that had inputs from the community throughout, and we, as a matter of fact, everything that we do in going through doing enhancements to the parks, we solicit community inputs, and that's just not something we're doing for ourselves, we're doing it for them. So one of the persons came up to me and said, why don't you have aquatics, a swimming pool? Another friend of mine came up and said, you didn't include any tennis courts in your sports park design. So maybe we could have a second chance at trying to put in things like that were overlooked for one reason or another.
Well, thank you.
Good evening, and thank you for replying. What is the best way to determine the design elements and amenities for a park project?
Well, I think I kind of alluded to that the best way is to get inputs from the community and also look back at previous designs. Thinking outside the box is an option, but you got to be careful that you don't want to come up with anything super bizarre or like that. And one of the big things we had for working for us at the sports park design was a very capable architect, so contracting out to them.
Thank you, John, for reapplying. How does your personal and professional background qualify you to serve on the Park and Rec Commission?
Okay, now as you saw from my resume, my professional background is engineering, aerospace, and things like that. So you say, okay, so what has that got to do with Parks and Recreation Commission? But keep in mind my personal background on the just working with the city ever since it became a city. I mean, we're going on 21 years or so working with this city and hanging out with you people, you guys, on one, in one way or another. Also, getting back to the professional background, spent lots of years as a manager too, and so you make decisions, on things, and you try and do things in an orderly fashion. And between the two of them, it's just the way. And of course, my personal experience as the founding member of the parade committee. You see me start you off every time so far. Yeah.
Thank you. Good evening.
Hi.
First of all, what do you think are the greatest recreational needs in this city? And second, what do you think the role and responsibilities of Park and Recreation Commissioners are?
Well, I could cheat on that, and I could open up this thing right here, but I don't think you want to hear me read this off. But it's been pointed out that we've overlooked the special needs recreation programs for the children, even though we get pretty high grades on virtually everything. As I pointed out before, we don't have an aquatics facility. We've got El Toro High swimming pool, but that's about it. We've got homeowner association swimming pools. So we need, actually, I kind of like to see some things in our parks that are more just recreational. I'd like to see a little bit of kind of public art, such as maybe you could get some sculpture students to make some sculptures to make things look nice. Like you go over to the park at the Norman Murray Center in Mission Viejo, there was a lot of art type things there that were created by community members. So get the community involved in that.
Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Irish. Good to see you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. I have reviewed your application. I don't have any questions. I just want to thank you again for being here tonight.
Okay, thank you.
The next applicant is Brett Miller.
Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you for your time. My name is Brett Miller. I'd be honored to be part of the Parks and Recreation Committee. I've been a Lake Forest resident for 17 years. I have 3 children, 3rd grade, 5th grade, 8th grade. I've been involved in all sorts of sports. Currently, I coach baseball. I've been on the Lake Forest Little League Board of Directors for the last 4 years. Been involved in the Adventure Princesses with my daughter, as well as AYSO soccer. I played sports all my life, and I think this would be a great opportunity. I see as my kids are getting older, and as most of you know, the competition here in South County as far as athletics goes, we're pushing our kids to more professional coaching. And I see myself getting pushed out, and being that I like to volunteer, I'd like to continue volunteer in a more broader scale, giving back to the city of Lake Forest at this level. So that is my story. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you for applying. We really appreciate it. We're each going to have a question for you. My question is, the city recently completed $8 million in park improvements under its 5-year strategic plan. In the next 5 years, and not including the new Lake Forest Sports Park, what park improvements would you like to see constructed and why?
Well, one thing, being involved in baseball, especially for the last 7 years, and having interleague baseball with the city of Mission Viejo as well as city of Irvine, One thing I've noticed is there's a lot more space. There's a lot more parks. I know the issue here is lack of space, and we really have only Heroes Park right now with the lights. The new park will also have lights. But as far as bringing more to whether it's basketball, lighted courts for basketball, there's just so much more I think we need. Because the community is getting bigger, we need more recreational. I'm sorry, I'm nervous. Recreational opportunities to entice more families to come to this city.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Sorry.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for applying. What is the best way to determine the design elements and amenities for park projects?
Repeat that one more time?
Sure. Within a park, any given park, there's various amenities in there and design elements. And what's the best way to determine what should go into a park?
Well, a lot of it has to do with the community as a whole. I think you have to open it up so everyone, no matter whether their age, whether disability, just access, it can easily participate in that park or in that recreational activity. I don't know enough about engineering, to design that, but it's just something my answer's simple, but it's just making it easier for everyone to have that access, no matter what their situation is.
Thank you.
Thank you for applying.
Thank you.
What does your personal and professional background qualify you to serve on the Park and Rec Commission?
Okay. I'm a certified financial planner. I've been in the financial planning business for 20 years, so that really doesn't help me. But I'm also taking the California bar exam in 3 weeks to add on to my business. But I feel I understand one of the biggest aspects or problems with parks and recreation in most communities is the financial aspect. Economics is what's keeping us from developing and putting resources into what we need, for the community as a whole. I think working or being on the board of Lake Forest Little League also helped with. I helped in sponsorships, so being able to try to find ways to bring money in, other sources other than government, just getting the general public to participate. I think could help out, and again, with my finance understanding, different aspects of what things cost. And how we can, not necessarily play with the numbers, but how we can take the numbers we have and work them into the projects we want to bring into the community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You don't have to be nervous. You can take a deep breath and relax.
I don't know why.
You don't have to get it right. There's
Okay.
no right or wrong answer, so just relax for a minute. Okay? Now, real easy. It's like a two-parter.
Okay.
What do you think the role and responsibilities of a Park and Rec Commissioner are? Secondly, what do you think are the greatest recreational needs of this city? The greatest.
Greatest. Well, I've never seen that show Parks and Rec, so I couldn't tell you what they actually do. But as far as someone coming in, not really. No, I know there's already a group. So I find myself being an individual that's a good listener. I'm very coachable. Get in there and kind of get I like to get my hands, dirty and get involved and help out as much as possible. I think initially it's being a listener and following direction, and then eventually evolving to understanding really the scope of what we're trying to accomplish as a whole. I'm sorry. And as far as the second question, can you repeat that? I apologize.
Yes. What do you think are the greatest recreational need for this city? The greatest.
I think the greatest is communicating what's actually available. With having little kids, I'm involved. I get involved in a lot of the different events the city puts on. I think a lot of individuals don't know what they can take advantage of or even how to. I know that not everyone uses the internet, so it's finding creative ways to get the programs out to people. You know, I mean, we do have the newsletter and such, but it's just getting people to take advantage of these things. I think is one of the greatest needs or greatest challenges of Parks and Recreation.
Thank you.
Hi, Brett. How are you?
Good, Adam. Thanks. Mr. Nick. I'm sorry.
No, Adam. Adam's fine. Adam, please. I don't have any questions for you. I have reviewed your application. I'm impressed. I wish you the best of luck with the exam. The best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
The next applicant is Amanda Morell.
Good evening. I'm Amanda Morell. I reside in Lake Forest. I've been privileged to serve as a Parks and Recreation Commissioner, and I'm appreciative of that opportunity. My experiences and qualifications have added value to the Commission. Working together since my appointment, we've developed and completed implementation of a 5-year Parks and Recreation Master Plan. We've increased the city's park inventory and acreage. We've redesigned and rebuilt Serrano Creek Park. We built our first universally accessible playground at Pittsford Park. We've implemented improvements at Borrego, Foothill Ranch, Ranchwood, Alton, El Toro, Mountain View, Kavanaugh, Concourse Parks, and hopefully soon to be Tamarisk and Rimgate. We built a new concession restroom facility at Heroes and completed enhancement at Etnies. We are moving dirt on the sports park and recreation center, and we've developed field usage guidelines, added a Pacific Symphony concert along with many new recreation programs or classes like the Lego Robotics Camp and the Aliso Creek Cleanup Day. We've also just started a new senior advisory board. Meeting the recreation needs of the community is an ongoing process that's always evolving. I have a degree in landscape architecture and 2 decades of professional experience. If I were to summarize my career, I specialized in 3 areas: facilities planning for the U.S. Navy, transportation, power, and water infrastructure projects, and parks and recreation planning. Highlights of my local park experience include planning Upper Newport Bay Regional Park and Interpretive Center, 100 miles of Santa Ana River Trail, Palisades Park in Santa Monica, a sports park for the city of Corona, and a wildlife park in Sepulveda Mason, among others. I have experienced all phases of park development, including programming, planning, design, and construction. I'm a mother of 2 active boys who play AYSO soccer and Lake Forest Little League. I'm an avid walker and patron of local parks. One of my sons keeps me busy on the sports field, and the other one is interested in cultural arts. So I also know that programming is as important as having improved facilities. I'm involved in, also committed to continuing my education in Parks and Recreation. Most recently, I attended the National Parks and Recreation Congress, where I attended educational sessions on dog parks, health and wellness programs, community partnerships, teen and senior trends, universal design, community gardens, and cultural diversity in our parks. I would love the opportunity to continue to put my qualifications and expertise to work serving on this commission. Thank you.
Well, thank you for reapplying, and thank you for your service. We're going to each have a question for you. The city recently completed $8 million in park improvements under its 5-year strategic plan, as you know. In the next 5 years, and not including the new Lake Forest Sports Park, what park improvements would you like to see constructed and why?
Okay, well, I think park improvements constructed and why. Actually, I'd like to see us address the dog park issue or the dog use of, because there's various ways to approach that. And that seems to be coming to the surface lately. It's been something that comes forward at public meetings. We look at the satisfaction survey. And I also think coming up with some long-term solutions for Village Pond Park in terms of, meeting the needs and the desires long-term, that we need to look at that facility as well.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
Okay.
Good evening. It's good to see you, and thank you for your work so far. What is the best way to determine the design elements and amenities in a park project?
Usually that starts with a public involvement process and getting input from the local residents and the users of the park. They're the ones that are most knowledgeable about kind of what they're looking for and their uses and so on. So to me, it's identifying that and working with, an overall plan and vision for what we already have in our facilities versus a needs assessment. What are the needs and how do you apply that across a city, and where do we have those in those locations? But definitely input from the public is number one.
Thank you.
Good evening, Amanda, and thank you for your service to the city and reapplying. How does your personal, professional background qualify you to serve on the Park and Rec Commission?
As I said, I went to school to become a landscape architect. Quite honestly, I'm the son my father never had. And I got to experience all kinds of crazy things like punt, pass, and kick football and taking baseballs in the nose. Finally, I decided to be a competitive swimmer because it was safe in the water. But then I went on to be, I've had an appreciation for the outdoors, and I wanted to go to school to become a landscape architect. I knew that I wanted to do that since I was in 7th grade. And I luckily got a professor at Purdue who helped to write the book Anatomy of a Park. And so, very early on in my college education, I had great exposure to parks and recreation. And then I joined a company by the name of EDA, where I was exposed to a lot of different things. And my very first project with them was Palisades Park in Santa Monica, which was a blast. And then, I've served on the commission, so I'm very familiar with programs. I've got kids of my own that have been through a lot of these programs, and I know what it's like to be fighting for field space. I've also helped put together recreation programs and different programs in the elementary school within Saddleback Valley Unified School District. So,
thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I have a two-parter for you. First of all, what do you think the role and the responsibilities of Parks and Recreation Commissioners are? I'm quite sure you have that answer. And second part is, what do you think the greatest recreational need is in this city?
Okay, well, first I'll break it down a little bit and start with your role. As a commissioner, I feel that it's my job to represent the public and what their interests and desires are relative to recreation facilities and programs. I definitely don't view it's my role to represent my own self-interest. We're here for the whole, and we're here for the people. And so that's who I want to hear from. And I want to make sure that when they say security lighting is important, that security lighting shows up on the plan. So I'm looking for details. The sports park, I'm going through the 322-page set of construction drawings because I know how to read those. And I want to make sure that what we said and what we thought and what the public wanted is actually built and constructed. So that's what I think, and our role is to make recommendations to City Council. Now, secondly, you said, what is the greatest
recreational needs for this city?
For this city. The satisfaction survey really talked about looking for I'll call it an expansion of recreational needs for special needs children in our city. If I'm not sure that just off the top in terms of the greatest, I think that is a significant area that we do need to continue to look at. We've expanded it some, but it maybe needs a little bit more focus.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hello, and thank you for being here. I have reviewed your application. I don't have any questions, and I thank you for being here.
Okay, thanks.
The next applicant is Victor Shearer.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Should I start?
Yes.
All right, thank you. My name is Victor Shearer. I've been in the Saddleback area since the early 1980s, moved to Lake Forest in 1991, and became immediately active in the community in volunteering my time at the Heritage Hill Historical Park, which I happen to live across the street from. So I've been very, very fortunate to get very much involved with the community. The good news for me is when I started my education at Arizona State University, I took a Bachelor of Science in Parks and Recreation. And I grew up in the parks environment, working my way through college in all parts of the parks and putting together, as a recreational supervisor, programs. I've worked for the Boys Club and Girls Club as an athletic director, and I had a lot of exposure to the recreational area and parks. When I went into the military during the Vietnam era, I went in as an ROTC graduate from Arizona State, as a lieutenant, served in South Korea, 2nd Infantry Division, came out and started my career in professional sales. But I've always been committed to contribute to the community in terms of what I can do to give back, and I really mean that sincerely. So as a result of my work, I've been with the Amigos de la Colina Friends of the Hill at Heritage Park for 9 years, in the past year as their president, and we were fortunate to be part of the 4th of July parade, winning the theme award. So I'm very proud to be here tonight to introduce myself as a candidate for commissioner for the Recreational Department, Recreational Commission.
Well, thank you for applying. I appreciate it. And we're each going to have a question for you.
Yes, please.
My question is, the city recently completed $8 million in park improvements under the 5-year strategic plan. In the next 5 years, and not including the new Lake Forest Sports Park, what park improvements would you like to see constructed and why?
Because of the growth of our community, which has grown tremendously, and looking at the corridor of Alton Parkway up in the Foothill Ranch, there's going to be a lot of demand for outside activities, after-school activities, as our citizens begin to appreciate the outdoors. And many of the amenities that I see are critically important comes through the recreational and group activities and coordinating within the community, keeping in mind that we have to be sensitive to budget and fiscal matters, that we stay within our means, but get involvement from all aspects of the community to provide us input so we can work together as a group. So for the next 5 years, I'm excited about the dog park concept because I believe strongly it's sorely needed. The sports complex is a very exciting opportunity to serve the many facets of the community. So for the next 5 years, I see ourselves being very tuned into the community to make sure that we're responsive to the needs and wants that is so important to develop the various programs to allow young people and seniors all an opportunity to enjoy our wonderful community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you for applying.
Thank you, Peter.
What is the best way to determine the design elements and amenities that go into park projects?
Well, from my own experience as a young person enjoying the parks environment and being part of the parks, it's very important that we listen very carefully to the folks that are using the parks and to be very outreached to get input, because we cannot operate in a vacuum, because our environment is moving very quickly. we need to be very tuned in and be tuned into the many volunteer organizations that are here to get what input that we can get to ensure that the right kinds of amenities are in the planning stage and are being recommended to serve all aspects of our community, to make sure we have a well-rounded recreational program, a well-rounded physical amenities in our park system.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for applying, and thank you for serving at Heritage Hill.
Thank you.
It's one of our jewels in the county. It's one of our jewels in the county. And so, how does your personal and your professional background qualify you to serve on the Park and Rec Commission?
As I've indicated, I grew up in the recreational area professionally, and had the opportunity of seeing the impact of a city-wide program and how it can impact young people as well as all aspects of the community. During my volunteer work at Heritage Park, I conduct historical tours of the buildings. We have preserved a number of buildings in the community over the many, many years so the community can enjoy them with the special events that are also conducted at the park. I really believe that this type of activity should continue and be increased given the wants and the growth of our community, and I feel very well qualified to offer important perspectives in the Commission to ensure that my input is provided given my educational background, my military background, and my background being a long-term resident here in the area.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I have a double hitter.
Uh-oh.
What do you think the role and responsibility of a Parks and Rec Commissioner is?
I believe the role should be a couple different roles. One, to be a consultant, to work with the professional staff within the city, to offer insights and offer ideas. I think, secondly, the role of the commissioner should be a facilitator, should be one who has specific goals and objectives, and to have people share in the passion of why this is important to the community. I think having special projects involved and working closely with the city staff and with all community organizations to convey that passion and concern, and to make sure that as a commissioner we have a responsibility to offer these perspectives and these concepts, that we are tracking properly, that we are assuming fiscal responsibility for what we're doing, and to offer whatever assistance that can be done to ensure that all departments are operating on the same page.
And what do you think are the greatest recreational needs of this city?
I believe the greatest recreational need that we have is to provide a healthy environment through our parks for all citizens to have a family enjoyment of the environment. In our wilderness areas, our historical park areas, I believe we should have strong after-school programs and other programs that we can work with other organizations to initiate. I believe that we should preserve our heritage, our culture, and pass it on to the next generation through the park programs. I believe we should continue with the passion that we have done so successfully in the past and build on it for the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, and thank
Good
you
evening.
for being here.
Thank you.
I have thoroughly reviewed your application. Thank you. Very impressive.
Thank you.
And I don't have any questions for you. I wish you the best of luck.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for the opportunity of being here.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, okay. Thank you.
The final applicant is Jeff Workmeister.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Thank you for applying.
Oh, thank you. First of all,
Mr. Mayor, Madam Mayor Pro Tem, City Council members, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to present myself as a candidate for the Parks and Recreation Commission. Tonight, I'm not sure if you can hear me, tonight, real quick, I'll just give you a background about myself. My family moved to Lake Forest in 1984. I was still in high school. After I graduated, I went on to Saddleback College, and then I joined the service. I was in the Navy for 4 years. I was a rescue swimmer on board the USS Lake Champlain. After my honorable discharge, I returned back to Lake Forest, where since then I've married, excuse me, I have a family of 4, and we've lived here ever since. I like to call our family a dynamic family because I have 2 stepchildren, both go to El Toro High School. We have our adopted daughter from Kazakhstan who's in 6th grade, and our biological son who's in 5th grade. Just a little bit about my education. I'm a registered nurse by training. I have a bachelor's in business management as well as my master's in business administrative. As far as kind of some of my volunteer history, our family were members at Saddleback Church. I've served with the traffic ministry as well as a small group ministry. We also currently work with the orphan and support the adoption ministry there at the church. As my kids grew older, I started coaching sports. I've coached everything from basketball, baseball, girls softball, and football. I've also served on the board for Saddleback Valley Pop Warner and also Lake Forest Little League. When I was filling out the application, it was interesting. One of the questions was, and probably the hardest one, what are the issues and challenges you see with Parks and Recreation? And I think that's it's kind of a loaded question, really, because I think that really the challenge is we offer so many great programs in the forest, and I don't know that everybody is always aware of those programs that we offer. And I think one of the things that we need to focus on is getting that communication out to all the residents, all the families. I think at the same time we want to continue to bring a high-quality product to our residents, and that includes, parks, all the programs that not only satisfy our current residents. We want them to be happy. We want them to have fun. We want to entertain them. But also, we want to invite new residents to the community and say, hey, Lake Forest is a great place to live. And I'm sure I'm going past my time here. So just kind of in conclusion, I've lived in Lake Forest a long time. I love the city. My family loves it. I think there's still a lot more that Lake Forest can do. And I'm looking forward to the years to come because I think those are our best years. And I hope that I can be part of that and help the city grow. Mr. Mayor, Madam Mayor Pro Tem, City Council members, thank you for your time. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for applying. We'll each have a question for you. My question is, the city recently completed $8 million in park improvements under its 5-year strategic plan. In the next 5 years, and not including the new Lake Forest Sports Park, what park improvements would you like to see constructed and why?
That's a great question. I coach a lot of baseball right now, so we'll build a lot of baseball fields. Actually, my background, I work right now in pharmaceutical research as a project manager, and these kind of projects, I think for the parks themselves, I think we need to, first of all, we need to work on their availability and how we present their availability to the community, because I think that's an area that's a mystery. And I can tell you because, as you can see from my resume, a couple years ago we started a nonprofit organization for youth baseball for kids 8 to 12 years old. And finding a baseball field for them to play on is very difficult, even with our nonprofit status. And yet we see empty parks and fields all over the place, right? And so to get those permits, I think as we grow, we have those space available. It's utilizing them and making sure that they're being utilized properly. I think the utilization is a big question for us right now.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Good evening, and thank you for applying.
Thank you.
What is the best way to determine the design elements that go into a park as well as the amenities of park projects?
Well, I think, as I said, I come from from my project management background. There's a couple things. As far as the design element, you have to start out by saying, what do you want to do? What's your end goal? And then you need to create a project plan from that. I live by what I like to call the project management triangle. So we have to keep into consideration what's our cost, what's our timeline, and then what's our quality, right? And so if we know, okay, if we want to build a park, for example, that is able to have playground, soccer fields, baseball fields, what have you, we know that, right? And then we start putting those design elements together. I think depending on what the needs of that area are, and I think that's what we would have to decide. I think you really can't just say, oh, we're going to do this now. You really have to look into it. You have to show your due diligence, and you have to say, okay, here's what our need is. What is the community need? And then that's how you go forward from that, and you build the project from there. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question or not. Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for applying. How does your personal and professional background qualify you to serve on the Park and Recs Commission?
Sure, and that's why I kind of talked about that earlier. As I said, I've kind of got a pretty diverse background, and I like to volunteer. The interesting thing is, as I've coached my kids in the years, I've been on the boards for different organizations. My kids are kind of at that age where they're outgrowing me as a coach, and so, but all of that, being part of those boards, creating all of that, it gives me inside information. I have a family of 4. We use all the facilities. My parents live here, and so my mom lives over on the lake, and so I think all of that background, and then with my degrees and my project management background, I really believe those are important things, as well as my personal religion and belief, and also what we do from church. I think all those community things tied together.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
I have a two-parter.
Okay.
First of all, what do you think the role and responsibility of Parks and Recreation Commissioners are? And what do you think are the greatest recreational needs for this city?
Okay. So for the first part, as I understand it, for the Parks and Recreation Commission, our job is to represent the residents of the city and to make sure that we're meeting their needs as far as what the Parks and Recreation. It's not just building a park, it's also what are the programs that are involved, meeting the needs of all the residents, whether it's from kids to seniors to middle adults. We're talking about whether it's a senior center, adult softball fields, what have you. So I think it's the job of the commission to say, okay, what are the needs of our community? What do we need? Put that together and then build a plan from there and say, okay, that's how we move forward with it. I don't know if I'm answering it. And then your second question, what do I think? What was it?
What do you think the greatest recreational need is for this city?
I don't know that I could say that there's just one great. There's only one. I think one of the areas that we need to really look at. I think our seniors are underdeveloped as far as programs that we have currently right now. I also think that our kids' sports, I think we could do a better job with that. And I can say that being on some of the organizations that have worked with those, from Little League to Pony to Saddleback Valley to Pop Warner. I think that we need to really look at how we're providing those services to the families and to those individuals. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, but
thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, I want to thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I have reviewed your application. I don't have any questions. I just want to thank you once again for being here.
Okay.
Best of luck to you.
Thanks. Sorry. Mr. Mayor, Madam Council members, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor and members of the council, before we go to the next step, we have had a request to speak from a member of the public on this item.
Okay.
Michelle Clark.
Don't you have to be a resident in Lake Forest to apply for Park and Recs?
Whatever. Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening.
Members of the City Council, City staff. Welcome to the dais, Councilmember Robinson and Councilmember Nick. My name is Michelle Clark, and I'm with Waste Management of Orange County. You know I'm a person of very few words. So I've struggled to find a few words in support of one of the applicants tonight. First of all, I too want to thank all of the applicants for their applications, for their dedicated service, obviously, to the City of Lake Forest. However, I have worked very, very hard for free for one of your applicants, John Irish. He is one of the most remarkable volunteers you have in this city. His dedication and commitment to that parade committee. He's so bossy. My motto for everyone to get through that parade committee, which starts, the meeting was last night. I missed you, John, I'm sorry. Is to do what John says and no one gets hurt. He's very smart, he's logistical, he's precise. Most volunteers would ask me, Michelle, I need 16 roll-offs, 3,000 event boxes. Not John Irish. He wants one roll-off, he counts meticulously how many event boxes. I need 67 event boxes and 134 liners. I'm like, really, John, why don't you just take 100? But he's very precise. He's very smart. I think his engineering background does phenomenal work for what he does for the Parks and Rec. John obviously has played a huge part in Lake Forest being one of Orange County's families voted best city to live in with a family, and that is due to your Parks and Recreations. I volunteer a lot for the Kiwanis, and they're always in the events with the food, and your events are phenomenal. The Snow Fest was great. A little cold for me, but it was great. So I urge you tonight to continue your commitment to keeping your Parks and Rec Commission strong and healthy with John Irish as part of it. Thank you.
You have ballots in front of you, and there are 2 vacancies. And so you, in the first round of voting, you're asked to vote for 2 candidates. We'll collect the ballots, and then if it's the council's pleasure, any candidate receiving, well, if a candidate receives 3 votes in round 1, then they're appointed to the commission. If we have a tie, we'll move to a second round of balloting, and any candidate that receives any vote in round 1 would move to the second round of voting. And we'll double check and make sure that each of the candidates that should move forward do move forward.
Thank you.
No, after she goes to counting. Hold up the, oh, we're so good. I have some stuck out more than others, but I got a tie going on in between my head and my pen.
Yes, Madam Clerk.
In the first round of voting, Mr. Victor Shearer was selected with 4 votes. And there is, there'll be a second round of voting with the following candidates who received at least 1 vote each. And those candidates are Mary Axelrod, Gracie Duran, John Irish, Amanda Morell, and Jeff Workmeister.
And clarify, this round, everybody votes for 1.
Yes, in this round, each person votes for 1.
While you're counting, could I ask for a recess for council member?
for Adam.
So this morning I woke up screaming because I dreamt that I was at this youth camp in Nile. I haven't been there for 30 years. And there was a bear, and I saw some cows, so I was like this close, and I thought, oh man, I'm doomed. Because her mom's around there. So all of a sudden she comes around the corner, and she was like after me. And so I start doing what I learned in wilderness training, which is making noise, making yourself big, you know. And she turns and it goes off. And then she sees these little kids on lunch line. And she goes and starts giving them noises. What's going on in there? You know what I think it's from? I went and said, he's talking to a kid about
Please, just do it by the back. Well, Bob ran out the door.
Adam, please. Bob, you could come back.
Looking for you.
He's looking for you. I asked for permission. Your permission was granted. Bob doesn't hear this.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Reconvene, please.
Okay, as a result of the round 2 voting, no candidate has received a majority vote. In round 2, there were 5, you were selecting from 5 candidates. After round 2, we have 4 candidates that received votes. We can conduct another round of voting. If it's the council's pleasure, I could read the votes as they stand right now, or would you like to do a third round and then?
Well, was there a group that, like, 2 each or something?
One applicant received 2 votes, and then 3 candidates received 1 each.
Well, could we move the 2 that received the 2 votes forward, or no?
1 received 2.
Only 1?
I guess then we have to do all of them that got a vote.
Then there's 4 at this point. In round 2, there were 5, so now we're down to 4.
So
The 4 for round 3 are Mary Axelrod, Gracie Duran, Amanda Morell, and Jeff Workmeister. Round 3 was identical to round 2 in the voting.
Okay. Well, so we have one more ballot left.
We have 2 more.
We'll, okay.
What?
We'll go one more round.
Do you need me to read the
No,
4
it's
names
the same
over
people,
again?
right? The same people were.
Yeah, the same people that were in round 3.
Excuse me, council member. We're voting. Voting.
Yeah.
No, he's talking. He's not voting.
Yeah, well, that's not what we're doing.
After round 4, we have 2 applicants that received 2 votes each, and 1 applicant that received 1 vote. So at the council's direction, we can do a runoff of the candidates that received the 2 votes. Yeah. Okay. Mary Axelrod and Jeff Workmeister.
We're having trouble. Could I have Mary Axelrod come to the front, please? No, just stand. Okay, just stand.
Just stand. No.
And Jeff? Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
After round 5, Jeff Workmeister received majority votes.
Madam Clerk, item number 24.
Agenda item 24, discussion of letters submitted by Brookfield Residential and Truemark Homes regarding proposed residential development in the Foothill Ranch Auto Center, submitted by Assistant City Manager.
I want to thank everybody for applying, and please consider staying involved with our city.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, as it relates to this item, at the meeting of December 18th, the staff provided the City Council a status on the residential projects proposed by Brookfield Residential and Truemark Homes. In conjunction with that update, representatives from the 2 firms submitted letters to the council raising various topics relative to their respective projects. And while the council received the letters on that date, you directed that they be placed on the agenda this evening, February 5th, for discussion. The staff has provided the letters back for the council again, as well as additional information related to that. There's nothing further that the staff would add at this juncture, and would be glad to respond to any questions the council might have.
Do we have any requests to speak?
Yes, the first speaker is Marcia Rudolph, followed by James O'Malley.
I do believe that was a record as far as the commissioners. Anyone who's been in this room for more than a year knows that I was involved intricately with the negotiations, with all of the stuff that went on from the very beginning of this project coming on board until the first week in December. With that as kind of an underpinning, I'm not going to apologize for being sort of the old pro or whatever you want to call it, but I do have a piece of it of maybe what you would call seasoned advice. You have, for those of you who are brand new, you have an incredible staff that has an incredible amount of knowledge, and you actually have one of the best negotiators that ever was. The negotiations involved with all of the opportunity study, including the addition of these 2 additional properties, went on for years. And there were many vicissitudes and swings in what was going on, what the general consensus of the those of us on the council was. It was really an interesting, from my perspective, now that I can step back 3 months and see what's going on, I'm very interested in where this is going to end up. My advice to you, particularly the 3, what I call new babies, Scotty, I'm sorry, putting you into the new babies realm, but the bottom line for here is the agreements that you see before you and the letters supporting those agreements were fought for with blood, sweat, and tears. They were carefully crafted, minutely gone over and over and over and over, and I would recommend that you take very seriously, if you're going to look at doing anything new and different, then what is the template laid before you? That template laid before you was very, very carefully crafted and very carefully put together. And I'm speaking as someone who was involved with the development community back in the 70s and straight on through. Be very judicious in how you do this and how you decide to make changes or not make changes in it. It is a wonderful document. It is carefully crafted. The development community is behind it, and I think that this council should be too. Thank you.
Thank you.
James O'Malley.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. James O'Malley, Truemark Homes. The letter that was written on December 13th and discussed on December 18th was written by our firm, and the contents of that letter were intended for moving us forward progressively and economically and without threat. It's a smart letter. There are good items to discuss. We just have the need to move forward with our application. We are an applicant. And as Mrs. Rudolph mentioned, it's been going on for years. One of the items that's being responded to or asked of to be omitted is another market report. And I have one in my file dated, I think it was December of 2011. There was a subsequent report prepared, and I think even an addition to that, an amendment to that. We're wide open to doing studies. We do it for a living. It's part of CEQA. You do soils, you do noise, you do traffic, and you do marketing. Quite honestly, it's rare to be asked from staff or a city to do a marketing report at this stage of the game. We do that internally, and we don't do it with internal staff. We do it from external staff and professionals that provide that particular service. So I have a copy of the letter. Mayor Voice, thank you for pulling out of the pile December 18th. As an example, that was 49 days ago. And now we're asking for a quick response so we can move this application forward in what we see as a great opportunity and a great addition to your city. Thank you. I'm here for any questions you may have.
Councilman?
I don't have any questions.
No questions.
Thank you. I would, been an interesting couple of months getting these letters, but I would move that we receive and file the letters and move forward with the processes that are currently in place.
Second?
With respect to the market study, at this point, I don't see any benefit to it. I think that I'm either going to support or not support this project. The market study is not going to help me. As a business person, I'm constantly looking at how I'm spending my dollars, making sure that I'm doing it wisely. My own personal business is constantly being impacted by government regulations and different fees that I have to pay. If they're necessary fees, it makes sense. If they're not, it doesn't, and it frustrates me. So, from that perspective, that's one area that I'd like to pull from this. It just doesn't make sense to me at this point, and so that's where I'm at.
I also like to accept the market study as it is. I don't think any further studying is necessary. I think it'll be a waste of money. I think it'll prolong the process needlessly. I just don't think there is. I don't think another study is warranted.
Is that a motion?
It's a motion from me that that we eliminate the market study portion from.
I second that motion.
Excuse me, Mayor, you can check with the city attorney, but since there's a motion already on the floor, I think what needs to be done is either they ask for a friendly amendment of the motion or they reinstitute substitute motion. They can't just throw another motion on the floor, so you're going to have the floor piled up.
Okay. Call for the vote.
No.
On which?
No, you've got to clarify the motion
first. Okay, there was a motion made, a second.
No, there was already a motion and a second on the floor, so they need to either make an amendment to the motion or make a new motion by saying that they're going to make a substitute motion. They make an amendment to the motion or a substitute motion. Peter first and I second. So you have a motion on the floor, proper order.
I'll request a friendly amendment that we eliminate the market study requirement.
And I second that.
And as the maker of the motion, I do not accept the friendly amendment, and particularly on the concept that there's somehow this would cause some sort of delay. Facts are very stubborn things, and what the facts really are in this situation is that any delay with regards to market study is solely been caused by the development community and the speaker that just spoke. The city was very prompt in contracting with AECom as was requested. And in fact, they were under contract as of September 11, 2012. On September 27, there was a kickoff meeting set, and on September 25, it was requested that that be canceled. So it was rescheduled for November 26, and again, then on November 20, the developers requested it be canceled. As we move on, then the developers then moved in December of 12 and asked that the entire thing be put on hold. Now the contract for AECom, which again was entered into in September of 2012, indicated that their schedule was that the peer review of the prior market studies that have been mentioned would have been done in 30 days, which would have been October of 2012, 3 months ago. Then the entire review, so the entire additional market study would have been done within 90 days, which would have been December of 2012, a month and a half ago. So the city would have had their market study done a month and a half ago, except for the requests of the developers, which I still do not understand. So in that regard, I feel that the market study is appropriate, particularly when you take into account the comment as far as what this is about is that supposedly there is a need for additional residential to be of use to the businesses in this area. You have to look at what's going on in the city, and again, facts are stubborn things. And the facts of the matter is that in the Foothill Ranch area, we have already approved through the OSA over 4,000 units. That will increase our housing supply for the city of Lake Forest in excess of 15%. Again, 4,000 units that are already approved and being built, actually. Furthermore, what those 4,000 units will bring is 12,000 new residents. Our population will go from a little over 77,000 to nearly 89,000 and 12,000 residents. And again, these are all in the OS area that you're familiar with, and as you can see, those surround the Foothill Ranch business area. So if what we're looking at is the impact of a residential improvement, we've already met that goal. We've already put in place residential development that is very dramatic, and I would challenge you, except potentially because of the two cities that have base reuses, to find another city who is increasing its housing units in excess of 15% and its population in excess of 15%. So again, we have met what their requirements are. So I believe that the original motion to receive and file the comments and move forward with the processes that are in place, including the ongoing negotiations, is an appropriate motion.
So, call a vote.
Mayor, I think you want to clarify at this stage, if you don't mind, that Mr. Robinson's motion would be considered a substitute motion if that was his desire, and then you'd consider first the substitute motion, see how it fares, and then revert to the
Actually, I'd like the maker of the substitute motion to maybe add a friendly amendment to that.
do that too.
The market studies have been done, and I think by even the TrueMark Corporation has done a market study. I'd like to maybe ask the TrueMark people if you would be willing to update your market study. Would that be a viable option to this, since we already have most of the... would you take that as a friendly...
Well, here's the thing. Even as we went through all the various OSA negotiations, and in the past, we frequently do receive studies. And what our staff and this council has consistently done is then have those reviewed. So this is nothing unusual or different in any way, shape, or form. What's unusual or different is the approach that the developers seem to be taking in this case. And I don't know if they're so confident in what their study has shown, what having a review, which is, again, is very typical for the city to do, to have that review done, which again would have already been done a month and a half ago if the city had been allowed to take its course that it had set forth. So again, to me, this is nothing unusual, nothing that has not been done in the past, and is something that the council certainly felt was important when it agreed over my objection to move to phase 2.
Mayor?
Yes.
Can I ask a question? That peer review, Mr. Herzog, whose expense would it have been at?
The developers have placed, each company has put in $12,500, so there's $25,000 currently setting that was paid several months ago.
But it would have been out of their pocket, right? I mean,
correct.
But if there's no need for it.
Mayor?
Yes.
Thank you. In looking at the study, one of the things that was discovered in the study that I discovered in this was, and because of the time that has lapsed, regardless to whose fault it is that one of the key components you had in your list was that because of Western Digital, you need to fast forward this. Well, because of the 1,500 jobs, and that had something to do with the foot traffic in the Foothill in the town center. Well, Western Digital did move out, and for a period, even one of our council members seen a drop. But then, now we have Alco in there, and from our market study on Alco, guess what? They're going to have even more people there. So the push is not there now as it was when your first original study was made, and that was one of your key points in your study when you did your market study. Well, that dynamics, because of the lagging and continuing and other different things that took place, why it wasn't done in a timely fashion when it originally was supposed to be done. Now the dynamics of the area has changed. You got other homes that's coming on very shortly, and you got one of your key components, which was Western Digital. You now have someone in 2 of their places that's going to wind up producing even more than Western Digital did. So you do need to do something about that market study. That's there's one of the things that I have. I know a lot of developers because I'm on a lot of different housing things, and including county, state, region, and stuff. There is a certain cost to do business, as we all know. There is a certain cost to do business. The citizens of this city should not bear the whole brunt of what we do not make sure that it's in place and done. Now, in the cost of doing business, I have some colleagues up here saying $12,000. We all know that's in that type of business of building things, and I done it before we were ever a city. I was over all Orange County's redevelopment. So we did a lot of building, SROs, single stories, low, very low, moderate, all different types of houses. And I was the chair over that project of all the redevelopment for all those years. Now, the thing is, for the lay person that do not know building, $12,000 sounds like a lot. But for people that do building, that's the cost of doing business, and it's not a lot. But your dynamics has changed. If this had been went on and went through from the beginning without all the pauses and delays and stuff, Alpco wouldn't be in the Western Digital. That alone puts a whole new market there. And the houses that are ready to hit the ground now, they wouldn't be this far down the road because this would have been done last year or in 2011. So we do have a different dynamic. And if it was anyone else beside you, I would still be saying, I need you to update that. I need, this was not a delay on the city. We were ready to go. And the money is still sitting there in the bank for the study. So now, when I first heard of this project, when we first got the project, we were talking $60,000 additional dollars, 60 additional. And now I'm hearing $12,000 per developer. So from $60,000 that it was going to cost you in 2011, and you did not have the component that you have going on now, houses being built by other developers, because we're through with the opportunity study, which all of those people went in for 10 years. Okay, let's set that aside. But they're building their places now. On top of that, you've got Western Digital building filled, and others are steady moving in. So I can't understand why you can't see that the dynamics has changed. So and you didn't bring forth all the stuff to begin with, because if we go back, I was adamant, I will not allow you to pay another $60,000. I talked to Hassan at Southern California Associate of Government. Would they do the peer review? Would they do this? Would they do any of the whatever you need? Let me know. I will give it to Hassan, and because we are a part of SCAG region, which they do that free. A lot of things free for members. This city is a member of SCAG. Not one time did I get a call or a letter or saying, here is my item 1, 2, 3 that the city's asking for. Could you give this to Hassan and see if they would do it? I spoke to him personally. So now we're here, and the dynamics has changed again. And it's, okay, no, we can't do this. I know that we got 2 new people up here, and I'm not going to call you that new, although he wasn't here when all this was going on. But in here that what I'm saying is true. The dynamics has changed now. And what you had to begin with, the council that was in place at that time pointed out the shortages in it. And the city staff asked you for it. I got inundated with paperwork because you claimed my staff wasn't giving it to me, and I had 4 and 5 copies of all the paperwork. because I was being sent paperwork at home, I was being given paperwork here repeatedly, all over. Now, in the meantime, if things had expedited on the end of the person that would have the application then, we wouldn't be sitting here with what we have now. But we got houses getting ready to hit the ground too. And we got that Dick Void that you put in there that was void, it's not void anymore. Someone's in there even bigger. So to just sweep this on through, maybe these don't know. But any of the citizens that's been engaged, planning commissioners that has been engaged, and definitely, I may be old, but my brain still functions real good, even when my body don't. I know that I set it all up for you with Southern California State Governor, which wouldn't have cost you a penny. Never called. It's off the table now. They went on to other cities' projects. I cannot see where if the financial structure where 12,000 is going to break, then I'm concerned about you starting and not being able to complete. Because if you can't do that, then there's some problems there, and we need to look even closer. That makes me very suspicious, and I feel, hey, what's going on here? Because staff, we received all the paperwork, and everything was ready to go. So my problem is I can't support the substitute motion or the amendment to the motion unless this applicant, and I have to hear it again on exactly what you're asking that's going to be different from the original motion, because this applicant has not followed through repeatedly since 2011. So now, I don't know how you do business, but I do business where I'm a woman of my word, and my word is my bond. And when I give my word representing this city, the 5 people that approved this to begin with, that even put it in second gear, all 4 people, because Peter said no, we didn't listen to him. But the ones that put it together to begin with, we did it in good faith. We stuck our neck on the chopping block for you in good faith. And in the meantime, it's been delayed. My staff has been on the ball because I checked on them and made sure they were doing what they were doing. And every time they said it, I had the paper. I had it right there. I had stacks of it, and folders and books and all. I had all that stuff. Every time my city manager met with any of you as our negotiator, he reported back, word for word. When I get your paper, he had already said that. And I still would read it again in case you had something different in it. But no, I don't believe that I can't have you even fathom that you're in my head and you're in the heads and minds of the 5 people that sit here originally. And I'm not going to hold that accountable. But I do have a lot of angst when a person doesn't follow through repeatedly and delay, and then blame it on my staff or on the council. That is not our delay. The dynamics has changed. You go back and you look at what was put on there for the reason this had to be fast forward. That is not the same reasons now. Okay. Thank you.
Well, from my perspective, Councilman Herzog has mentioned that he didn't support it going through phase 2, so I don't see how a market study is going to help him one bit. And with respect to Councilwoman McCullough, Mayor Pro Tem McCullough, a phrase that I hear commonly from you is that you're one who watches the pennies. And I know that to be the case. When we're talking about the city's dollars, you're one that watches the pennies. As a business owner, I watch the pennies. And even though I might have an 8-figure annual budget in all of my companies combined, $12,000 is a lot of money, especially when it's not needed. And from my perspective, it's not needed. So it's a complete waste. It doesn't matter how much money you have. Nobody wants to burn $12,000. So I'm not talking about the time issue. I'm not talking about any delays. I'm just talking about the dollars. And that's where I come from as a business person who deals with this on a day-to-day basis. That's what the voters of Lake Forest voted me in for. I ran as a business-friendly businessman, and that's the way I'm going to govern.
I feel that we are business-friendly, excuse me, I feel we are business friendly, and I've owned numerous of businesses. Okay, I started my first business when I was 13, and it was very successful. Okay, so in the meantime, I hope yours was successful. In the meantime, I'm saying, I'm not discounting $12,000, but from $60,000 to 12, that's a big drop. If you saved yourself that much money in your business, you could add one more business if you kept doing that with everything that you did. See, so that's what I'm saying. I'm saying from the $60,000 it originally was, it went to free. And then from that, it went to $12,000. You're still ahead. See, still ahead. That's what I'm saying. And as far as business friendly, hey, I support any business that is serving this community or people that come from other communities that's doing what they words say they're going to do. And I don't care who they are and what kind of business it is, long as it's within our guidelines for our city as far as the laws and all like that. But from $60,000 to free, and procrastination took it to $12,000, it's still ahead. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying I'm not still a bean counter and squeeze the ink out of the dollar and spend the ink and save the dollar. I'm not saying that. I'm saying from $60,000 to I had it set up for free, and now it's $12,000, and that's not a saving. Any businessman that really wanted to take and leverage this and make it right, they jump on that without even a hiccup, if they're a good businessman.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'm happy to respond to your inference that somehow, since I voted against it originally, that somehow I don't have an interest. I operate a little different than you do, apparently. In my world, the city council debates things, the city council votes. You win some votes, you lose some votes. Once the city council votes and takes an action, even if I'm on the losing end, which has happened in the past, then you move forward as a council. The council has laid a direction to move to phase 2. So my job at this point is not to, act like a little child and take my toys and go home.
Please don't.
My job is to then look to make that the best process possible, and to do that in a manner in which it best protects the citizens of Lake Forest. Our job is to the 77,000+ residents of Lake Forest. And when you talk about bean counting, what we're talking about as far as being fiscally prudent is with the city budget, the city's budget, and making sure that those dollars are protected and well spent. And so if your feeling is that charging someone a fee, which is a cost recovery of a system, then there are all kinds of costs and fees that are being allocated to get these projects through. So maybe then we should just take that through and not charge those cost recovery fees either. But to do a thorough analysis of any application, I don't care what it is, whether it's for a dog park, a skate park, a residence, you name it, is something that we are obligated to do to create the best plan and create the best result for the cities, residents, and businesses of Lake Forest. And in particular on this business-friendly theme, it's interesting because particularly on the TrueMark project, that building is occupied. It is occupied by Elite Automotive Services. There's a business operating in there. So if we pursue this, and the vote is to go ahead and change it, then we basically are voting to throw business out. And that's something else to me that seems like an interesting aspect to take into consideration when you're evaluating the market and evaluating the study and evaluating what's happening in that area and doing a thorough due diligence analysis. That's all we're asking for. That's it. And so I haven't understood over the last 2 months what is leading to all this. There's negotiations and they stop, and then, maybe there'll be a new council and something else start. I don't understand what's going on. All we are trying to do is our proper due diligence to protect the citizens of Lake Forest, the businesses of Lake Forest, and the budget of Lake Forest. Nothing else. That's it. The developers that came in through the OSA came to us as partners. They came to us and said, how can we help the community? How can we provide benefit to you, which will be a win-win situation because they know as developers they're going to benefit too. And clearly they are. I mean, they're moving forward with building the project. That's what we're trying to achieve here. A win-win joint benefit situation. And to tie one hand behind your back is not the way to do that. Absolutely not the way to do that. I spent my professional career for 20 years going through expert reports, studies. There are two sides to every story. And you need to look at both. That's all we're asking to do, is do a fair, thorough analysis and move forward, and that's it. That's where I'm coming from, and that's why I made the motion that I did to receive and file the letters, thank you very much, and then move forward with the processes that are currently in place that have led for over 10 years to a fine result for both the residents, the businesses, and the new developers that came into Lake Forest. So I would ask that the original motion be voted upon.
Anything else?
No, sir.
From a parliamentary standpoint, at this point, do we need to focus on the subsequent motion?
Robert, if the council's using Robert's rules, then we'd want to confirm that you, council member, intended your motion to be a substitute motion, and then that would be voted on first.
Okay, well, I intended to be a substitute motion.
And to clarify that motion, it is a updated market study. Is that what the friendly?
If I'm clear, my initial was to delete a market study. Your friendly amendment was for the applicant to update the market study. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, I accept your friendly amendment.
I think that it's prudent that because of the months that have gone by and the climate change, but the fact that we as a city council do our due diligence, and we have a fiscal impact study. We have a market study that was done in September. I feel that because of the changing market, I think that a market study is mostly on the investment portion of whether it's a good investment for the builders to come in and they can sell their houses. That is really what a market study does. It's evaluating whether these are going to sell. And the fact is that with the housing market slowly gearing up, I think that there's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts whether the housing along Alton Parkway and Bank Parkway continue on as the pace that we need to continue our sports park. I'm the mayor of the city of Lake Forest, and I have a vision and a hope that we complete this sports park on time in the beginning of 2014. But to do that, I would like to have the resources coming in from the building industry that is going to pay for these parks and these amenities that we have coming to our city. So I would accept the friendly, if you'll accept the friendly motion amendment to that, I will call the vote on that.
I do.
Oh, Mayor, if you could, we'd need Mr. Nick, who is a second to the substitute motion, to also accept the friendly amendment.
I do, sir.
I call for the vote on that.
And so I just want to clarify, so is this motion to not allow the city to go forward with the market study that was put under contract back in September?
No, I think we have a market study on the table, and we're asking that it be updated so that yeah, that's again clarify that we're asking that it be updated, and then we will evaluate that then. So the fact is that we still have the $25,000. You said $12,000 from Brookfield, $12,000 from Trumark. That is still in our account. If we need to update that at that time or look at that in another way, because they have other studies that will be pushed forward, and we will have a traffic study, and we will have the plan review. The Planning Commission will go over this.
But again, what I'm indicating is that the city has not done the market study that the council approved back when it voted you including, to go forward with this Phase 2. And so that's why I'm asking is, obviously they can update any study they want, but is this motion designed to not allow the study, the study that the city has already under contract to go forward?
Who are we contracted with?
AECOM, A-E-C-O-M.
And so that's a market study for the city?
Yes.
Okay, besides the fiscal impact study and the traffic study that's what will be coming, the fact that we have study after study after study, we can overstudy this. I mean, I don't see why we don't just push forward and allow them to bring forth a updated one to us. And if that time you don't like it and you want to go forward, we have the money in our bank.
Because as I sort of indicated, it's always been the city's methodology of when we receive reports that we do our own review of them. This is nothing new or different. And so I'm totally confused.
Point of clarification?
As to why this should be of any type of concern. And again, they can update theirs if they want, but I mean, I think the city should proceed with theirs as well. And again, in fact, it would have been done by now.
We know.
If it hadn't been at their request to put it off.
Mayor, I think that one of the things that may be a little confusing here is to go to Phase 2 was contingent upon the city doing the study, and that's why the $12,000 each was put in there. Also, another component that is not being said, the timeline on the $12,000 if the study isn't done. So right now, it's already been contracted for the $12,000 each. And if it's not, and you have to go out, just like our dynamics has changed, and you have to go out and re-contract with someone else, it could be more. I don't know if it would be that $60,000 that you originally was going to have to pay, but it could be more. So when we okayed to move them to the second phase, that was what the agreement was, and it hasn't materialized. And that's why, when we moved them to the second phase, and I know that Peter was against it, but when we moved them to the second phase and they needed to get the study, I had asked at that time, I asked city manager, if we can get SCAG, because we are a part of them, they do all the modeling and stuff, and if they will do it free, would that be okay? And they said yes. But they can't now. Then dilly-dally. That's not on SCAG's table now. That was last year. When I spoke to the CEO, and he said yes, he would do it. They never produced the stuff. They never got. So now, but they are down from 60,000 to the 12,000. But that was the only reason they got fast forward to Stage 2 was because they had agreed. That's the only reason. Otherwise, we wouldn't have put them in Phase 2. They'd still be back there in 1.
I'd like a point of clarification. On here, staff says the studies there's a range from $40,000 to $60,000, and we have $25,000 according to your statement earlier, $12,000 from each contractor or developer. And on page 633, is that an accurate amount? And because we're talking 25,000, now it's going up to 40 to 60.
It's 12 each.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, that is an old staff report which we just attached for historical purposes. If you were looking at it a full fiscal impact study from the beginning to the end, those numbers are probably accurate. The $25,000 that the city contracted with AECOM with is really a peer review, and to ask for a few other additional questions, not to replicate the fiscal impact study, but to peer review it, as well as the council had directed back then, that there be a couple of additional questions evaluated by AECOM. Consequently, the cost is $25,000. That's what's accurate. If you're going to replicate the entire fiscal impact study, then the 40 to 60 is the number you'd be looking at, but that's not what you'd be doing in this instance.
Okay, at a $25,000 peer review of the fiscal impact study or the market study?
Of the market study.
Of the market study?
Yes. Yeah, if the first issue is the council was looking at back when you decided that issue, was simply to peer review their market study. There were a couple of additional questions that the council had. To simply do the peer review is a little bit less money, but you had additional questions, and that's what took it to the $25,000.
And time frame?
It would be about a month or so, month and a half to do the peer review, if I understood correctly, and then about 90 days if you were adding on the additional questions. If the council, and I think it's really been staff's intention, is that you would do that in sequential order. And if you did the peer review and felt on the basis of the peer review that the underlying study that was done by the consultants, and in fact, I think if memory serves correct, Brookfield may already have taken some steps to update their study. Then, and if you felt comfortable after the peer review, then you could decide not to move forward with additional questions, or if you still felt uncomfortable, you could move forward at that point.
So we're talking maximum of 45 days.
To get the initial peer review done.
If we don't add the extra questions.
Yes. If in fact you could, if the council was so desirous, you could do the peer review, bring that back, look at it, and make a determination as to whether you want to go to the next steps. You could, in other words, stage that analysis if you felt that was appropriate to do.
Who's this peer review supposed to be conducted by?
AECOM. We put out the RFP. We did a competitive process. The two developers were involved in that process. We selected AECOM. Council's already authorized, and we've signed the contracts. We have not issued a notice to proceed. That notice to proceed is still pending. The contract's still available if the council wants to move forward, and we certainly could authorize simply the peer review portion of that analysis, or if you wanted to do the whole thing or stage it, we could make that work, whatever the council's desire was.
Discussion?
I'm still back with my initial substitute motion. And Mr. Nick has seconded your friendly amendment, so.
I'm not moving off of the peer review. We do that for all of our development. I don't believe in doing a little favoritism or sweetheart deals or nothing. We do it for all our developments. This is why our developments are so successful.
All right.
We do the peer review.
They call a vote.
In this substitute motion, would this end the city's peer review?
No, we give for this time while they update theirs.
So then when you're talking about...
Give me a clarity.
Yeah.
Yes, my motion
We need a
is
clarity.
to end the peer review, so I'll just make
See,
it clear. Yes.
That's why you're saying one thing, but it's different things coming out of his mouth.
Yeah, but it's
See, did you hear what he said?
it's my substitute motion, and I have a second.
His substitute motion is to end the peer review.
The
Carte blanche.
And have them update theirs.
Yeah, they would only
Correct. That's your-
update
that's
it
your
instead of
friendly
having the
amendment,
peer.
correct, And I've accepted the friendly amendment.
No.
Okay.
Yes, I've already seconded that, and I second that again.
You don't need to second it again.
Clarified.
It's still on the record.
Call a vote.
Aye.
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 Roll call.
Councilmember Herzog?
No.
Councilmember Nick?
Yes.
Councilmember Robinson?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McCullough?
No.
Mayor Voights?
Yes.
Okay, now we do still have the underlying motion pending because there were other issues raised in the letter, so that, again, to receive and file and move forward the processes set forth, obviously with the exception of the market study, based upon the council's prior action.
Second that.
Okay.
Already second. So on the floor. It
Okay.
activates.
Call the council vote.
Yes.
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 Gotta produce.
Agenda item 25, legislative and regulatory matters, submitted by city manager.
We need to address that. Legislative matters. We need to do it.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the staff has provided its usual legislative update for the council's consideration. We have nothing further to add at this juncture.
Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I have two things that we need to keep on our scope, SB 33 and SB 1, and both of these are dealing with redevelopment. And some people at the OCOG was pushing, a gentleman came and spoke from someplace, and he was pushing SB 1, but coming back from the league and all the legislative stuff up there, including some of the legislators themselves, spoke at policy committees, and I spoke to them at the ledge. SB 1 has something very tricky in there, because, and I'm hoping that our staff will really stay on top of both of these, because they take, and on 285, they're taking the legislators has taken our money and our goods and everything from redevelopment, stripped it, shut it down, and now they want to turn back around in SB 1. When you read the fine print and you read through the whole thing, you'll find out what they're doing. It said, we're going to give you permission to do a local tax on your people, and we won't touch it. Just go ahead and do a local tax and build and make yourself some enterprise zones. But they already talking about taking money and closing them down, and we will let you do that, and we won't touch the money. It'll just be a local tax. So now they want to make us the bad guys and people to distrust us like they do them, because they want us to tax our people to build the homes, to create what we were already doing with redevelopment. So that's something we need to look at. The SB 33 is more similar to the redevelopment, but it still has some kinks in it also. So we need to make sure that we don't just go for them. In talking to other city managers, city attorneys, and city mayors and councils and the league, a lot of them are leaning more toward 33 when you really dissect it and take it apart and sit back and think on it. But the one has that real hard kinker in it. We will give you authority to tax locally, and we won't touch it. But there's nothing, no kind of guarantee they're giving you. There's not a constitutional amendment they're giving you that they won't come back and get it, just like they did the redevelopment. So I'm asking that it be placed on for a very close watch. And there's another bill, the 285, that we need to get a close watch on. I need more information on that because I just got that this morning in the EPA meeting over at SCAG. That's one that I don't have a lot of information on, but it did have to do with where the EPA, they were going to take and put the contaminated zones and the zones under zip code, which that means if you got 2 or 3 zip codes in there and each one got a high level, your city could be deemed don't put anything there, don't move there. But now they have decided to switch to the sensors map track. And so we need to really look at that, because they really haven't solidified that either. So they're still talking about that. And that was at the legislation stuff. That's all I have for that. Keep an eye on it, please. Thank you.
I just indicate in the staff's report they did discuss Assembly Bill 5 by Amiano.
Mm-hmm.
This bill has the potential to cause absolute havoc with our parks and public facilities. And so I would make a motion that the City Council oppose that bill.
Second that.
Yeah.
Aye.
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 City Manager's report.
City Manager's report.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, I have nothing further to add this evening. If there is anything related to league appointments, you may want to go back and consider that before you go on to council comments.
Okay. Madam Clerk?
Well, agenda item 26 is request for appointment League of California Cities.
Has there been any?
No.
No, there have been no new requests.
Herzog.
Peter? Anything?
City Council comments?
Mm-hmm.
City comments?
Well, I have to admit, the last two council meetings have been very interesting. And I think it's something that needs to be thoroughly watched and reviewed by the public. The city was in a position where we had numerous things ongoing. We have a very sound budget, very solid base, and we were in the true midst of, and still are, numerous projects. And yet, for some reason, two planning commissioners were relieved and two Parks and Rec commissioners were relieved. And I honestly don't understand why. Particularly on the Parks and Rec, there was one individual who I supported very strongly that has proven herself to have been highly qualified and highly dedicated. And, you know, it's just odd to me. And I really do not understand where this is coming from and why. But I'm sure this will come to some sort of knowledge or something that will come forth, you know, in the future that might give us some sort of an idea. But, you know, I am committed, as I've indicated before, that, you know, you win or lose some votes. That's the way it goes. But I am committed to the 77,000 plus residents of Lake Forest. Will continue to focus my votes in that vein, and look forward to having a very strong ability to maintain the quality of life that this community, not this council or this staff, but this community has put together over the last 20 years. And so it should be interesting, and thank you very much.
Nick. Councilman.
Wow. Well, I don't want to make this personal, but when you say, Mr. Herzog, that you're committed to the 77,000 plus, it offends me. I take exception to that. I won't go into details. The fact of the matter, Mr. Herzog, is if you see your Planning Commission members, if you see your Parks and Recs committee members changed, is because people spoke on November 6th. And despite all the trash you people threw my way, all the propaganda, people put me in, people put me in charge, and you're going to see some changes, and you seem to not like it. So I don't appreciate the comments. The fact is that people want to change, we're going to give them change. We're going to run this business, we're going to run the City Hall as a business. And it's people's business. It's not your business or my business. To that end, I intend, as printed in the Orange County Register a few days ago, I intend to do here in the next 24 months and counting what previous councils failed to accomplish, failed to do, or chose not to do in about 20 years of its history. Once again, to that end, last time I asked our city attorney and our city manager look into us adopting sunshine ordinance to make our government more transparent. Mr. Smith, thank you for the literature that you so competently provided us. At this point, what I would like you to do, please, if you would, I need you to make comparisons of the current Lake Forest practices compare them with what sunshine ordinance or sunshine ordinances throughout the state offer. If it could be given to the council via a couple of easy-to-follow tables, that would be great. My goal, my objective, is to have Lake Forest be that shining city on the hill. I want it to be the most transparent city government, the most public-friendly city government. I want us to be the model. So whatever it is, whoever offers, we're going to offer at least that, if not more. So once again, I just need to know, we need to know, if you would be so kind, what sunshine ordinances entail throughout the state, and then we'll pick the best practices and we'll adopt those practices. And everybody else can emulate us, everybody else can follow us. We will lead this charge in the state of California. So do I need to ask someone to support me there?
Mr. Nick, what you're proposing is a little more analysis than we provided, and we'd like council consensus before we undertake.
Correct,
that.
if I could beg of you. Now, do I have support to have that analysis provided us?
More analysis, yes.
Thank you.
From me.
Mr. Matter, a point of personal order under Robert's Rules of Order.
I'd like to close that. It's a comment you made against him, and he made back. So go to Councilman Robinson, please.
No, you're absolutely incorrect. Under Robert's Rules of Order, when there is a direct comment, there is a personal order and a personal preference that takes priority. And additionally, my comments were not directed at anyone individually. I said what I will do and nothing further. Additionally, the comments that came back then got into the campaign and were factually inaccurate. So the truth of the matter was, the only hit pieces that went out in the campaign were against Marcia Rudolph and Terry Anderson. None. There was not one that went after Mr. Nick. So, quite frankly, he accused me. He made an accusation that in a campaign I took actions against him which are absolutely untrue. The campaign literature proves it, the expenditure reports prove it, and it's very clear who went into negative campaigning.
All right.
I was not one of those. Neither was Mr. Anderson, and neither was Ms. Rudolph. They were the ones that were the objects. So I think that needs to be very clear, and so that is why he went far beyond the original comment.
And we let you finish, so thank you.
Okay.
Councilman Robinson.
Excuse me, Mayor. It's on the consensus. On the consensus, when you're doing that more extensive, did we not have a transparency from the courts? I got several. When I was mayor, I got several slips from the grand jury, and we got flying colors on those. Could that be folded into the report for the new people?
Yeah, we'll provide those excerpts.
Because we got that transparency report. I got about 2 or 3 different letters from them, and each time we got a raving report from them. Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure we got that in.
Thanks.
Robinson.
Okay, so on a more positive note.
Thank you.
Little kumbaya moment here.
Oh, please.
I had the pleasure, it truly was a pleasure, of attending the OCOG vote. I think it was probably about a week and a half ago, and I was very happy to have voted for Mayor Pro Tem McCullough, and very excited that she'll be representing us on that body, or with that body. Also, just wanted to commend staff, the Park and Recreation Department, Mr. McGill, Mr. Rivera, everyone else who was involved with Snowfest. My 3 little ones thoroughly enjoyed it on last Saturday, and it was a fantastic event. I know that we had a wonderful turnout, as we always do, and it's one of those many things that we're blessed with to raise a family and be involved here in Lake Forest. And I hope that our new Park and Rec commissioners will embrace more ideas like that, and we'll look for any and every opportunity to engage the community in their Park and Rec experiences. And so welcome aboard to both of you if you're still here, and that's it.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Before I do anything else, I would like to make sure it's a part of the record that I would like to thank publicly, first of all, my three colleagues here, which is Robinson and Voights and Nick, because they did show up in the rain and voted for me on the OCOG. And we had two council members from Mission Viejo that drove all the way over to OTCA in the rain, Frank Urey and Mayor Rhonda Riordan. And we had two from Laguna Woods, Bob Ring, and wasn't that Bert? Yeah, Bert Hack. Yeah, Bert Hack. And that gave me 8 votes, and the person that ran against me had 2. So it put me, last time I missed by 1 vote, and I've been going to COG since in the 90s, and I've been here for a long time, and I could never get well, when we started the COG, I was there, but it conflicted with something else. But it put me in a position where I'd be on the RC. So the RC is the regional council. I've just been on a policy committee, and so I couldn't vote after policies had made the decision. I couldn't vote on the regional council to solidify it or go against it. So that really gave me some leverage that I needed to follow through my vote. And according to the AB, no, is it AB or AS? AB 1234. I know you thought I was going to forget. I attended the League of California Cities, both policy committees. In fact, you heard some of the legislation I brought back with me. I'm now on the OCOG, and also I thank my colleagues here for putting me on the fire authority. It's very interesting, and a lot of paperwork, but it's very interesting. And with us having an urban forest, I've already met with one chief, and I'm supposed to meet with another, and they do have extremely long meetings. I hope our meetings go back to be at 8:39, because their meetings go to 12:31, 2 o'clock in the morning. They just don't know how to shut the Sam Tom up. And some of the people had to get up and walk out until we lost the quorum for them to stop. I don't know about that. I'm going to have to rest up. But I attended the Fire Authority. I attended Orange County Council of Government workshop, and then they had another one this morning, which EPA was the person. Mental health services. The mental health is doing a lot of things, and you know they're the ones here in this county that has money that they can put into building homes. So they can only support they can only put in 1/3 of the money, though. And from what I hear from Washington, D.C., they're getting ready to get another hunk of money because of the mental health was cut, and they're going to return it because of some of the things that's going on. I also went to the 2020, which is Stop Homelessness by the year 2020. One of the things is we're looking for each city to start taking ownership to their homelessness and start considering that you're going to have some all-year-round shelters. And I got a call from one of them today, and they're willing to come out and speak. I got a meeting with Karen Roper, which is our acting CEO, and some of the cities are going together and building homeless shelters, and Huntington Beach now is doing a homeless shelter. I don't know if it's permanent or not. Do you, Bob? We don't know yet. You'll hear it in the paper. And the League of California Cities Housing and Administration, both of them was just reorganizing, and with the new chairs and dealing with the bills that are at hand. This is the good note. We had another Eagle Scout, and the mayor allowed me to go and attend the Eagle Scout, and of course he gave out one for the certificate for Don Wagner, and I gave out the one for our city as the mayor pro tem. The oversight board, we had 2 meetings back to back to get all the things in we needed to for that. I attended the Serrano School had an anti-bully, and they made a little video, and I went to that. That was before I wasn't mayor. but it came under this. And the Snow Fast, as I heard, was extremely good, as always. And last but not least, Valentine's Day will be here before we meet again. Make sure you share some love with somebody, and I hope somebody will love you too. Have a good time. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Well, since last we met, I attended the California League of Cities. I'm on the Tax and Rev Committee. They as a organization are holding the line in trying to keep the city strong and contacted with each other. On the government side, at the OCT, at the California League of Cities, they were discussing how even with Proposition 30 passing, the state of California is questionable on the future of their finances, and they're looking for ways to increase taxes, whether it be the removal of Proposition 13 or the dismantling of parts of Proposition 13. So that was a big topic up in at the League of Cities. I attended the TCA board meeting last week. I attended an Eagle Scout here at City Hall for a new Eagle Scout, a court of honor for new Eagle Scout lackey, and it was a great privilege to be there with my Mayor Pro Tem. I feel that the city is in the right direction. We are financially stable. We have great businesses in our city, new businesses coming in every day. I think that even with the changes in the Planning Commission and the Park and Recs, the quality of the candidates that came forth is evident in how many ballots we had to take to elect these new members. It wasn't unanimous among any of us. I think that because of the quality of candidates, the quality of people we have in Lake Forest that are willing to roll up their sleeves and get involved, I think that we have nothing but a bright future. So nothing further. Thank you so much.